Hello and welcome again to my channel, JBSnippets. Last time, we created our first plugin in Godot. If you haven't watched that video, you can click on the link here at the top right corner. Today, I'll be showing you a demo slash tutorial on one of the most commonly used video game player attribute, the health. Now, there are some health component plugins in the Godot asset library, but I'll be promoting mine today. It's called the health node. This is going to be a lengthy video, so I added chapters if you're interested in specific parts of the tutorial. Hopefully, this plugin will be useful to help you speed up your Godot game development, especially with health attributes. So, let's get right to it. First, a quick tour on our game structure. I created a simple platformer style game. I'm using the free Scribble platformer assets from Kenny. I'll add the link in the description below. Now, moving on to the quick tour, I have here a player node with a sprite 2D using one of the characters in the template. I already have a capsule collision shape here. And we also have an animation player. Simple idle. Just having the player go up and down like it's breathing. So, simple one. The walk is nothing really, just making sure that the idle is playing. And I also have a camera 2D already set up with the position smoothing enabled. Now, let's go into the player script. So the player script is the same default script template for a character body 2D platformer. Everything is intact. I just added the animation player and sprite 2D so that I can manipulate the animation when I move left or right. We'll be updating this script later on. Now let's go to the example scene and let's show the 2D view. And as you can see, it's already set up. Let's go to tile map, and my tile map is already using the Scribble platformer tile map I mentioned earlier. I also added the player node here, and I also added a left and right border so that my player won't fall off the game. And let me show you how it looks when I run the game. Cool. Let's go right, and it stopped at the right border. Let's go left and jump a bit, and it's already stopped at the left border. So we're all good. We can start adding the health. Adding health. You can download the health node in the asset library, and after you download, you can enable it by going to Project, Project Settings, and the Plugins tab. As you can see, the health node plugin is already enabled at my project. You can also look into the autoload and check if the global health singleton is enabled. We'll talk about the global health later on. Now let's add health. Let's go to the player node, and under the player node, let's right mouse click, add a child, and let's search for health. There you go. Let's double click the health, and we have our health node. Let's just move this up here. Now, before we actually use the health node, let's look under the hood of the health node. Unlike the first plugin we created, this plugin and the scripts are longer, with a little complexity behind it. But it's well documented, and I created this video to show you all its capabilities. Let's inspect our health node. Now, let me go to the 2D view first to avoid getting distracted by that long script. Let's save first the player node, and let's select again the health node. Now, in our inspector tab, you can see lots of properties I surfaced from the script. It's organized by category, and we'll talk about them one by one. Now, let me move this inspector tab to the middle of the screen. I'm going to click the ellipses here and click make floating. And I'll move over this window to the middle so that you can see it properly. Now, I named the properties to the best of my ability, trying to make sure that the property name describes its purpose. If you're not sure on what the property is for, just hover over it and the description will pop up. Now, let's start with the amount. So the amount is the current amount of health. Next, the maximum amount, which is the maximum amount of health. Let's move on to the interface. Now we have here the health bar. The health bar is the visual representation of your health when you run your game. You can assign a texture progress bar. We will create a texture progress bar for the health later on. Next, you have hide in seconds. Now you can automatically hide the health bar, or you can make it visible at all time if you set the hide in seconds to 0. Now let's move on to behavior. So we have 3 kinds of behavior: the default, which is manual control; the auto increase, which is automatically increasing by change %; and auto decrease, which automatically decrease by change %. Then we have the change %. So if the change % is 0, nothing will happen. So you need to increase the change % so that it will automatically increase or decrease based on the change %. And it is calculated based on the maximum amount. Then we have the change in seconds, which is the number of seconds until the health is automatically increased or decreased. Now, the change in seconds is controlled by a change timer inside our health. Then we have the pause in seconds. Similar to the change in seconds, the pause in seconds will actually pause the automatic changing, either increasing or decreasing, and the pause in seconds is controlled by a pause timer inside our health node. Then we have the switches. Now, the switches control 2 abilities of the health node. First, the ability to update the health, and the second is the ability to emit signals. So let's hover over the damageable. So enable this if health can be decreased. So just the concept of being damaged. Healable, self-explanatory. Enable this if the health can be increased. And revivable, enable this if the health can be increased when the amount is already at or below 0, meaning if you're dead, if you want to be revived, you need to enable this switch. Now, pairing it with emitters, you can now emit signals based on the health amount. So if you want to emit damage, you need to enable the emit damage and the damageable property. Same goes with death. If you want to emit death and your health becomes 0, you need to make sure that the emit death property is enabled. Emit heal if you want to emit the heal signal, which is paired up with healable. And emit revive if you want to emit the revive signal if revivable is also enabled. And that's it. Let me just make sure that our editor is set to default. Now, the health node is not a plug and play component. So similar to other nodes, we still need to do some scripting to make it work properly. Now, let me go to the player script. And just like the other nodes, I will drag and control drop the health node, and I'll go down and create a new function, and let's call this function health update, and I'll add a parameter called amount, and let's make it an integer, and I will call my health variable, and from there I'll call the update amount, and I will pass on the amount variable to the update amount. And that's it. Your player now controls the health node. But in order to see the health node in action, we need to create an object that can either damage or heal our player. Let's first inflict damage. Inflicting damage. Let's create an object that can inflict damage to our player. So I already saved the player script here to ensure we don't lose our latest update. Now let me create a new node. Let's choose other node. And you can search here, or because I recently used it, it's already here. So I'm going to use the area 2D, and I'll add more child node. I'll choose the collision polygon 2D instead of the collision polygon shape. And then I'll add a sprite 2D. And in the sprite 2D, I will use a texture that I already extracted from the Scribble platformer tile map. It's this drawing of a triangle, which I actually call a spike. So I'll use that. And then let's go to the 2D view. Let's move over that view to the middle and zoom in so that I can create my collision polygon shape. So I'm going to click the collision polygon shape and add a packed vector element. Sweet. Now I'm just going to move it here. Well, I just add more elements and then close it and then move it. Awesome. Now let me rename this one to Spike 1. Let's save it. Awesome. We're inside the example folder, so let's save it. Let me create a script for it. So let's create a script called Spike 1. And first I will add a variable. Export variable. Because this is an object that can damage the player, I'm going to create a damage variable, make it an integer, and let me have a damage of -10. Now let's link up the area 2D's body enter. So let's hook up to it. And I will say if a body has a method, so remember the method that we created in the player script, we're going to use that, and it's called health update. And if it has a health update method, I will call it and pass on the damage. Save it, and that's it. We now have an object that can damage the player. So let's go to the example player scene. Let's go to the 2D scene view. Let's go and drag and drop the spike node. And from there, let me just move the spike node just behind the player. And let's move the spike down here. And we have it. Let's save it. Go to inspector here. And let's try it out. Cool. Now let me go first to the remote so that we can see the health properties. Okay, that's the property right now. Amount is 100. Let's go back to the scene and let's try to damage the player. Oop, oop. It's working. It's being damaged. Yay! Now that we have an object that can damage the player, let's create another one that can heal the player. Healing. Now let me stop the game and let's add a new node. And again, I'll choose other node and area 2D. And this will be the same as the spike one, but instead of a spike, I will actually add a heart. So I'm going to drag the heart drawing here, and then move it to the middle. From there, I will create a collision polygon shape, add an element. Let's move that there. Let's add, okay, more elements. Hopefully that looks good. Then let's rename this to heart number 1. Let's save it. Save it as heart scene. And let's add a new script called heart. And now, same as before, we're going to add a variable. And this time, I'm going to name it as life. And life is 20. And let's hook up the body enter. And same as the other one, we actually look for the method called health update. And if we found one, let's use it. Health update and pass on life. Awesome. Now let's go back to our example scene and let's drag and drop the heart scene. Here we go. Let's move this here and let's go and move it behind the player and drop it off over here. Right? Some more. Sweet. Now, let's go and play the game. Save it. Play. Let's go to the remote and again, look at the health. Still 100. Let's do some damage. Let's go and walk over the spike and it's having damage 20, 60, 50, 40. Sweet. Let's gain some life. 60, 80, 100. Yay! Now we have life-giving health. But are we finished yet? Well, not really. We have a long way to go. Death. So I carried on making 2 new animation. So let's go to the player node and let's go to animation player. And the first animation that I added is the dead animation. Let me just play this animation. Play it again. So it's simple animation. It's making the player, animate lying down. The next animation that I added is the revive animation. Let's play it. It's the opposite of the dead animation where the player now gets up. Cool. So let's do the dying part first. Let's go to the player script. And first, let's add a dead status variable. So I'll type in var dead, and I'll make it a boolean. For now, let's have it as false. And then next, let's hook up our dead signal from the health node. So I'll go to the health node, and I'll click on death. From there, I want on health death, connect it to my player, and we have that signal here. And let's set the dead status to true when we hit death. And also, let's do an animation player and play dead. Okay. Now, final touch will be I want to tweak the movement script. So I'll put it over here. So I'll say if dead, return. Sweet. So let's try this one first. Let's go to example player and let's play. Let's go to remote first and let's look at the health. Spectre, 100. Let's go back to our scene. Let's do damage. 70. Cool, it's dying, but it's hanging while it's dying. So I think what's going on is, yes, I can't move, but because I can't move, it just stays there hanging around. So let's close it and let's see what's happening. There you go. Because there is still velocity y, gravity, it doesn't go down. So let's add the move and slide. See what happens. Boom, move and slide. Let's play it again. Okay. Let's try that. Sure, you're getting damage. Awesome. It does get damage, but it's now continue sliding. It's because we didn't set the velocity X. Yes, there it is. It's still running. So what we can do here is, let's stop it. So if velocity dot X is still greater than 0, meaning, I'm still pressing it, let's set the velocity to here. Move towards 0. And then let's slide. Okay. Let's try it out. Yes. Almost there. Awesome. That's what we want. So, we now have a player that can die. Well, just in game. Revival. Now that the player is dead, I want to revive him. So let's close this one first. And I'll show you a new scene I created earlier. Let's go down. It's this. And go to 2D view. And this is a canvas UI layer that I created. And I just want to recreate a revive event when I press a button. So let's go to the script. And I just have here a hookup to the signal on revive pressed. And I'll just say revive was pressed. Now let's add this UI layer scene to our example scene. So let me go to the example scene And let's move our UI layer and add it to that scene. And let's save it first. Now I'll play the scene and let's try pressing the revive button. Let's go first to 2D view just to make sure. Yes, there it is. Let's play. And let's click revive. Cool. It's now showing revive pressed. But we need to make sure that when the player dies, we can revive it. So I'll close this and let's start adding some script. Let's go to the UI layer script and let's add a variable and I'll call it player. And in the ready function, I will get the player node from my example scene. So I'm going to do player equals get parent. So I'm happy to actually just get the parent, which is this scene, and then I will get the node. And I'll just get the player node. I didn't use any percent because I didn't add any unique name for the player, so I'm happy with this. Next, let's say if player in the revive pressed and player dot health dot amount is less than equal 0, I want to revive it. So player dot health update, I want to add 30. And I'll also print I'm alive. Sweet. Let's try it out. Oh, before we try it, I just spotted a misspelled function. Let me just correct this one. Cool. Let's save it and let's try it out. Awesome. Let's click revive and see what happens. Nice. Nothing happened because it's still alive. Let's go to remote, go to health to track the amount. And let's go back to the scene. And let's get some damage. Awesome. Oops. Another bug. Oh, I think what's happening here is in our player, the velocity is actually greater than 0. Right. It should be not equal to 0. Okay, let's try it out. Let's go back to the layer and let's play it. Go to Rome in health. Let's go back. And okay, almost there. Awesome. Nice. Let's click on revive. Yay, I'm alive. Let's look at amount. Oh no. Well, I see what's happening. The revivable is actually off. That's why. Okay. Let's go to player. And let's go to health. And let's click on revivable. Let's save it. Let's go to the example scene. And let's try it out again. Okay. Now, let's go to remote, health, 0. And let's revive. Yay! The amount is now 30. Awesome. But we want to animate it. So let's go to player, script, And let's hook up the health and revive. Let's connect that. From there, I want to say dead is false. And animation player play revive. Now let's see what happens. Let's go to example scene and let's play it. Oh, let's revive. Ooh, nothing happened. Let me see why. Aha! The emit revive is not turned on. Let's do this again. Player, health, emit revive, and let's do damage and revive. Yay! I'm alive! Let's die again. Ah, yay! I'm alive! Woohoo! Awesome. Revive. This is fun. Sweet. Now we have death. We have revive. What's next? Visualize health. Now that we have most of the health events hooked up to our player, let's improve our UI. So when I'm debugging, I'm sure you noticed it's cumbersome to go back and forth from remote tree to game scene view. To avoid that, let's visualize our health. Now I'm going to create a simple health bar. Let me drag this new image I created here to represent our health. Let's go assets and drag it here. Let's go to the player and let's add a new node. And then let's look at, yes, I already used it, texture progress bar. And let's rename this to health bar. Then I want to have textures, progress, and let's do progress here. Let's try to do top to bottom, bottom to top. And let's try to visualize it. It's still reset that. And let's do value for 50. And awesome. It's looking good. If I do 100, it's looking good. Let me just move it over here. And look at the layout. Good. Transform. The size, I want it 40, but I want this one to be just 4 to fit that health bar. Sweet. Just move it down at 20. That's looking good. Awesome. Now let's save it and let's try to move to the health node and add the texture progress and see what happens. Let's go back and let's try it out. Oh, look, it's actually showing the health. And I'm dead. Awesome. Let's revive. Oops. Nice. Let's go and pick up some life. Look at that. How neat is that? Doop, doop, doop. Oh no. Let's go here. Let's get some life. Awesome. Simple, easy. Behaviors. I just made a small improvement to the health bar image so that you can see it properly. Let me show it to you in action. Let's go to the example scene and let's play the game. And let's get some damage. Awesome. That looks better than the one earlier. Now, let's try out behaviors. Let's go back to player and let's first do the auto increase value. Let me change the percent to 10%, not 100, 10%. And change in seconds to be, let's just say 1 second. So every second, the health would increase by 10% of the maximum amount. Let's save it and let's try it out. Awesome. Let's get some damage. Damage, 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 more damage, more damage. Awesome. And as you can see, every second it's increasing until it max out. Damage, 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 damage. Increase, increase, increase. Sweet. Let's go back and try out the auto decrease. Let's do the same thing. Change percent is 10 and change in second 1. This time it will reduce our amount to 10% of the maximum. Let's try it out. Oh no, it's decreasing. Let's go and get some life. Life, 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 life. I'm sure you will die soon. Let's revive. Awesome. And again, we'll die. Revive, and we'll die. Sweet. I'm sure you'll find a use for these behaviors in your game. Now, example, if you want to factor in the player getting hungry or applying poison, you can switch to the decreasing behavior. Or, if you want to buff the player with auto regen, you can switch to the increasing behavior. Global health. We're almost done. Last topic, global health. The global health singleton facilitates health change on a global scale, meaning the entire game. So, you need to make sure that the global health is enabled in the autoload project settings. To show you an example of how the global health works, I included in this plugin a health growler. Let's add it to the scene. Let's go add child node, and the health growler is actually here in the recent nodes, but I want to show you where it is. So it's under control. Let's double click it. The health growler will manage floating text of each node that has a marker 2D named growl position. So for this to work, we need to add one in our player node. Let's add one now. So let's add a child node and add a marker 2D. Let's just move this up here and I'll rename this to growl position. Now I move it up here so that the text will start showing at the top. And save. Now, before the growler shows the text, it needs to hook up to the global health singleton to pick up the target with health change. Good news, I already did that in this plugin. So let's go back to the scene and look at the script. So as you can see, on the ready function, I'm trying to look for the global health and hooking up the update function to this function here, where it will pick up the body that changed the health and it will show the label. Now, all you need to do is choose the label control for the text. Another good news, I also added one in this plugin. So let's go to the health growler. And as you can see, there is a growl label here, which we can put our label control. So let's add one. Let's go to add-ons and JBS health node, controls, and let's pick JBS growl label. Let's add it here. Sweet. Let's save it. And let's try it out. Awesome. Because we have our auto decrease on, it's actually showing -10. Oops, it died. Let's try to revive. Awesome. The text color for heal doesn't show that much, so let's change it. I'll change it to better dark color. Awesome. Let's play it again. Let's move over to have some life. Awesome. Sweet. As you can see, both heal and damage is growling. And that's it for the health node. Hope you find this plugin useful and hope it will speed up your game dev in Godot. Ah, my player died. Please subscribe and help me grow this channel. Hit that bell icon to get notified of new videos. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, have fun. See you all on the next vlog.